Hello! In this tutorial, I'm going to go over the elements of a statute. Please be sure to watch our other tutorials on statutory research to learn more about statutes, including how a bill becomes a law. The United States Code is the official code for federal statutes. It is divided into 54 titles. Each title is further divided into chapters and sections. The citation to the code will start with the title number, followed by USC, then the section, and finally the year of the edition being cited in parentheses. If you look at a statute in the official code, you will find the code title in the center at the top of the page, as well as the section number in the upper right-hand corner. This is 18 USC 42. And if you look at the right column of the page, you can see where section 42 starts. Everything that follows your section number is the text of the statute. When you scroll down to the end of the statutory language, you will find additional helpful information. First, you will see all of the session laws that either created or amended the statute. We talk about what session laws are in our Intro to Statutes tutorial. But you can see from this historical note that this statute was created June 25th, 1948, and you can find that law in volume 62 of the Statutes at Large on page 687. And then after that, you can see it has been amended several times. If you keep reading, you'll also find a section called Amendments, and this section will briefly tell you what each session law amended within the statute. Now, throughout this video, I have talked about the official United States Code, but there are also unofficial annotated codes. There is one called the United States Code Annotated, published by Westlaw, and there is another one called the United States Code Service, which is published by Lexis. You can find these both in print and online. They have the exact same statutory language as the United States Code, so that doesn't differ. They also have the same historical session laws listed in a history note at the end of the statute. So those two portions are exactly the same as the official United States Code. But they also have additional information in them, which are known as annotations. Now, these annotations are not law. They are not part of the statute. They are not part of the law. They are additions made by the editors at Westlaw and Lexis. But they are very helpful when doing your research, and they will lead you to other sources of information, including case law and secondary sources that can help explain, define, interpret the statute that you are working with. And then before we leave this tutorial, I do want to show you what a statute looks like in Westlaw and in Lexis. And so we are looking at 18 USC 42. It's the same statute that we looked at in the United States Code, but it does say USCA because this is the unofficial code. This is the United States Code Annotated. Then we have our section here, and then there's the language of the statute, which is going to be exactly the same as you saw in the United States Code. Below that, they have credits. These are all those session laws. This is that history note. So these are those session laws that created and amended this statute. But then if we look at our toolbar across the top, we have all of those annotations that I told you about that can help you with your research. So first, our notes of decisions. These are cases that have been handpicked by the editors at Westlaw as particularly relevant to this statute. Over on the right-hand side, you have context and analysis. These are secondary sources that have been handpicked by the editors at Westlaw as particularly relevant in discussing and explaining the statute. And then in the middle, you're going to find citing references. And so, whereas notes of decisions, there were 6 handpicked cases, but there are actually 137 cases that cite to this statute. You're also going to find that there are 260 secondary sources that talk about the statute, and you're also going to find regulations that are relevant to your statute, administrative decisions, and some other materials. So your annotations can be very helpful when you're doing your legal research. Moving over to Lexis, the layout's a little bit different than in Westlaw. So we have 18 USC S42. This is the United States Code Service because that's the one published by Lexis. But if you scroll down, you have your section here, and the statutory language is going to be exactly the same as you saw in the United States Code and in the United States Code annotated. Same thing, you have a history note at the bottom. Is all of those session laws again, and those are going to be exactly the same. Then you get to the annotations. So Lexis talks a little bit about the amendments and gives some notes on those, which can be helpful. But then they have notes to decisions, and these are cases that have been handpicked by the editors at Lexis as particularly relevant to the statute. And then they have their secondary sources or their research references and practice aids. And so these are other resources that they have deemed as particularly relevant to the statute. So they have some cross references to some other statutes. They have Code of Federal Regulations that are relevant to this statute, but then they have secondary sources like law review articles, some treatises, and some other annotations. But then if you look at the top, you're going to find your toolbar here. And so they also have additional citing decisions in addition to the ones that they handpicked. So these are other cases that have cited to this statute. And then other citing sources, these would be your secondary sources that cite to the statute or discuss the statute. And then keep in mind your annotations in Westlaw are going to differ from your annotations in Lexis because the annotations are drafted by the editors. They are a commercial product, so they are going to differ between the two platforms. And that is it for this tutorial. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can email us, call us, or stop by and visit us.